Hi, Sugar Pies. Hang on one sec. I'm digging in my purse for something. Can't find it. Hello, yeah, Mom. You're you're all right, doll. I totally understand. Not a big deal at all, sweet pea. Definitely, if you're here, you're definitely gonna want to watch the playback though, because here we go. Because this story is going to be interesting. So it's Tuesday. We have dedicated Tuesdays to true crime. And you know, I'm sick of hearing about the same old crap, like the same old crap. The same stories, these true crime stories. The same ones just being repeated over and over and over and over by these different YouTubers and stuff. It's like I know all about them. How many videos do I need to watch about them? You know what I mean? How about tell me? I mean, there's crime that's been happening since the beginning of time, I guess, whatever. But there's so many cases that could be covered, and people are just talking about these popular ones, you know what I mean? And I'm like, I'm tired of hearing about them over and over and over. So, in my neck of the woods, hello, Amanda. Hello. Thank you again. Thank you for the wax melts, Amanda. Also, again, I put the farmers market one in. Oh, it's like aromatherapy. The whole house smells like fresh cut grass, like a nice summer day. Oh my gosh, it just smells so good. So, girl, thank you again for those. That was very sweet of you. But anyway, yeah, we're always hearing about the same old, same old. And there's a lot of interesting things. Oh, you're such a doll. Mwah. But there's so many interesting things that have happened, like, crime cases, whatever, that have happened around my neck of the woods, so to speak. And there's this one that happened in I believe it was in the 70s. I got the laptop out. I'm going to see if I can find anything online about it. But I'm going to tell you from memory the stories that I've been told. Like, okay, where I grew up in this place, it's called Newcastle, and it's on top of the hill, basically. Tiny, tiny little town. Like you blink and you're through it. You know what I mean? Tiny little place. And I grew up mostly, for the most part, there. I grew up in a lot of tiny little towns and hills and hollers and stuff like that, whatever. But it's a tiny little town. I grew up there with my brothers. My mom grew up there, for the most part, like her teenage up years. She grew up there. And yeah, so I've heard a lot of stories, a lot of really cool stories. I want to tell you guys about the mansion that used to be there too. I'll say that for another day though. It's not a true crime case. Like, there's nothing to do with crime or anything, but there is this mansion there. We used to break in it all the time. Really old mansion. I couldn't tell you the year. I can't remember, but I do remember what it looked like on the inside. And the doorways were really narrow, and like Had a grand staircase, beautiful, absolutely beautiful. I don't know. I heard that it was moved. Like for a while, they were trying to like fix it up, and they were gonna turn it into a bed and breakfast. But I'm not. I don't know. I don't know if it was moved or if they tore it down. I can't remember. I'd have to ask my mom. But there's a lot of really cool stories. I'll tell you guys all about that story and the girl that lived there uh, many years ago on another day. But here, give me one sec. I'm gonna take a potty break real fast, so I'm not leaving in the middle of our story time. So give me one sec. Hello, doll. Sorry about that. Jeez. But anyway, awesome. All right, that's cool, girl. Just go ahead, sit back and listen because this story, I'm just going to be telling you this story. So, no need if you just want to sit back and listen, you don't have to chit chat or anything. Anybody coming in, you don't have to chat. Just sit back and listen to the story. You guys know I'm a storyteller. All right, give me one sec. All right. I'm sorry, guys. You know me. Anywho, okay. Now you have my undivided attention, guys. Sorry. All right. Anywho, let me get situated. Today, I have a little setup here at the coffee table so I can sit on the couch because if you've been following me, if you're a regular here or even if you just started anyway, my back has been pretty messed up for the past few days, so I'm not trying to sit on that bar stool and at the bar and hurt myself. So I got me a nice little setup here. I apologize if the sound quality isn't as good. Here, maybe I can. There we go. All right, I got my phone closer to my face. But okay. Anyway, the story about Murder Ridge. That's what it came to be called. It's in my little hometown, one of the little hometowns where I grew up in, where my mother grew up in, and her sisters and brother. Uh, First, I'm going to kind of tell you the story from memory. From my memory, this is what the story is, how it goes. And then I'm going to Google and see if I can find any more information about it. So I can actually like read to you guys the actual newspaper article. My grandma, I guess, still has the newspaper article. But the woman is such a hoarder, it's hard to tell where it is. And I believe this was from the 70s, which all of the crazy like murders and shit like that happened in the 70s, it seems like, doesn't it? Mhm. But anyway, so there's this man. He was he was a little mentally challenged, for lack of a nicer way of putting it. He was mentally challenged or whatever. And his name was Cletus Reese. And he lived on a little pig farm just outside of the town I grew up in. And maybe one of these days when I go up there, I'll make a little short or something and show you guys where it is. The house and shit isn't there anymore because this was like years ago, and I don't know the story with why it got tore down or whatever, but I can show you guys where it was. Anyway, he was a big, strong guy. Like he's really strong. My mom told me stories. I guess her father, my grandfather, knew the guy. I mean, they lived this. They were the same age around that time. You know what I mean? And they lived in the same town, so of course they're gonna know each other. There used to be back then. There used to be like a little market and like a restaurant and like a gas station. Like back in those days, it was still a small little town, but you could sustain yourself without having to go all the way to the bigger towns. But anywho, he lived on this pig farm, and there were stories my grandpa told my mom about how he seen him. Like this guy was so like strong and stuff. He seeing them carry like a hog under each arm, like you just scoop them up and carry them under one under each arm. That's pretty nutty. You know what I mean? That's some pretty strong. That's a strong fella. But anyway, getting to the point, he I can't remember how many. Supposedly he only confessed to the three, but traveling salesmen, when they would come to his door and try to sell him stuff, he murdered them and buried them in the yard. Uh, I think he used a heavy like tree branch or something. I'll have to look more into it, see if I can find some more information here. I'll sit here and do that while I got you guys. But one sec. God, I really need to be prepared, guys. This is so unprofessional. But it's hot. I feel warm. Ugh. It was cold this morning and now it's warmed up. All right. Okay. All right. Let me see if I can find Cletus. I wonder if it's even. Here we go. Oh. Oh, holy shit. Okay. Here's a little bit of backstory. So he was a mental patient in 1952, and he was sent home thinking to be rehabilitated from this hospital on a trial release. So they're giving him a trial release or whatever. He was to live by himself on his family's farm near Newcastle, which is where I grew up. Like my mom and her sisters and brother grew up, and me and my brothers grew up. With his sister checking in regularly on his progress. So he was living there on that little pig farm by himself. Oh wow, there's pictures and everything. Wow, I thought I wouldn't see anything. Oh wait, this happened before the 70s because he died in 1966. Wow, okay. Anyway, his name's Cletus Paul Reese. He was born in 1918 and he died in 1966. I'm not sure if he was like put down, you know what I'm saying? Or oh, here we go. Here's something I can read. What? There's a book? Holy balls, I didn't know there was a book about it. Let me read the thing. There's no reviews on it, but wow, it was made in 2006. I am shocked. I had no idea that somebody wrote a book about it. That's pretty cool. Anyway, I'll read you guys the book, whatever it's called. Based on a true story out of Warsaw, Ohio, which is the nearby little town. It was the early 1950s in the quaint rural countryside of Warsaw, where nothing ever happened. Cletus Reese was coined the strongest man in the county and was willing to help anyone who was in need. He was a loner and was often seen roaming the dirt roads at night with his old hound dog following loyally behind. Cletus Reese woke the sleepy community with his brutal murders. Dozens of onlookers watched in horror as friends and family members were uncovered from the shallow dirt graves that lay on the Reese farm. Now, I never really heard about that. I was told that it was, well, I heard anyway, that it was traveling salesman. I never heard anything about friends and family members, but that's pretty cool that you can get the book. I mean, it's pretty cool though. I didn't know that anybody had wrote a book about it. All right, I'm gonna read you guys a little something because my memory's hazy. Why do they keep naming like the towns around instead of the actual? It was in Newcastle. This is where the dude lived. And they keep mentioning all these articles mention the little towns around it. They don't actually mention where it was. It's annoying, but it was in Newcastle. Uh, I grew up in that area. I know, but whatever. It was a warm summer evening on Sunday, July 6th, 1924. What? What happened here? The Reverend J. H. Proper stepped to the front of the little Mount Nebo church west of the village of Nellie. Oh, that's, I wonder if that's that little schoolhouse thing that's in that little town. Uh, I'm sorry, guys, I'm thinking out loud. All right. Hey, get down. Sorry, Luna was up on the counter being a bad girl. Reverend Proper smiled and started the evening's program, which began with the children's choir singing. One by one, children stepped up and presented songs or poems. Okay, what does that have to do with anything? Soon, a stout but cherubic 6-year old stepped up to the front and recited a poem entitled Flowers. His name was Cletus Reese. Huh. Cut to May 18th, 1966, at the Darling Run Cemetery. That's where a lot of my family is buried, like my great grandma. And I believe my great grandma on my mother's side is a family there. And my great grandma on my dad's side and grandpa were also buried in that cemetery. Me and my mom go there frequently to like, because we go take care of the graves and put flowers and we that's just something that we do. One sec. Oh my God. You guys, I was talking this whole time, reading this obituary, and the mic was muted. I need to get it together. Anywho, May 18th, 1966 is when he died. And here is his obituary. Services for Cletus P. Reese, 48. So he was 48 years old when he died. Who died following a heart attack at Lima State Hospital Monday, will be conducted at 1:30 p.m. Wednesday at the Fisher Funeral Home. That's crazy because that funeral home is still there, and that's where we had my brother's like funeral, my grandfather's funeral. That's crazy because that funeral home is still there. Wow. Burial will be in Darling Run Cemetery, which I was telling you guys, I don't know if my mic was muted or not, but I was telling you guys about how I have a lot of family members who are buried at that cemetery also. Man, we go there, me and my mom go there quite frequently. I don't know. I think I was telling you guys a little bit about it. I don't know if I had the mic on mute because I was blowing my nose or what. But that cemetery is one of the few cemeteries that my mother and I go to. Uh, we go and we clean up the graves, and I'd like to do other graves, clean up the older ones too. Which maybe someday I will, get all the chemicals and shit, research on what's safe to use on them, and clean up the older ones that are forgotten. I think that would be a really cool thing to do. But we go and we clean up our families' grave sites. We put fresh flowers down and stuff like that. It's just a thing that me and my mother have always done. It's just it's respectful, and I know that they're no longer there. Their bodies are there, but they are not there, of course. But it's just, I don't know. It's like it's a respect thing. It's a traditional thing, and it's just a love thing, honor. But next time we go up there, I might have to at least show a little video, make a little video or a little short or something, and find Cletus, find his stone and show it to you guys. See if I can find it and show it to you guys. But anyway, born April 13th, 1918 in Newcastle Township. He was a son of Robert W. and Mary McLean Reese. That's so funny. My grandpa's name's Robert. He had attended Mount Nebo Methodist Church. Surviving are his three sisters, Miss Ethel Reese of Millersburg, which is the Amishville I tell you guys about. If you ever get a chance to go to Millersburg, I'm telling you guys, if you like that country Amishy shit, you'll love it. You'll love it. There is a place called, oh shit. Damn it. What is that little town called? Hang on, let me look it up on another thing real quick. There is a year-round Christmas shop. Yeah, it's called 'Tis the Season, and it's a Christmas shop. Oh my God, I love it. You can go there any time of year. It's open all year long. Berlin. Berlin. That's what it's called. In Millersburg, there's a little town called Berlin, and I highly suggest if you're ever in Ohio and in that area of Millersburg, check it out. They have all kinds of little restaurants and little shops, and there's a leather, like a Western store there, and you walk in, and it smells like straight up leather, like cowboy ass. Like, oh my god, it turns me on. I love it. They have really neat things they make. I've been to. Oh, really? Oh, cool. There's more than one of them? That's pretty cool. I see. I just thought it was in that one place. So I never knew that there was more than one. That is so cool, though. Isn't it awesome? It's literally like walking into, like, the Nightmare Before Christmas, where he goes to Christmas Town. That's what it feels like to me, like Christmas Town. And it's just, oh my God, I just love it. I love, even if I'm not buying something, I just like going in there and walking around and taking in the ambiance or whatever. It's awesome. So if you like that kind of shit, guys. Oh, and that little leather shop I was telling you about, they also on one side they have puppies for sale. And you can go in there, they have a little area where they got rocking chairs, like little rugs you can sit, and you can play with the puppies. Like, you can pick them up out of their little they got these cute little, like, I want to, the for lack of a better word, playpens, kind of like little playpens, and you can pick the puppies up out of them, and you can snuggle them, or you can play with them on the ground, or rock them in the rocking chairs. It's so cute. Oh, Amish. Okay, my bad. I thought you meant the Christmas place, but no, I love Amish stores. Love it. The Amish people, they make some pretty damn good shit. I'm just saying. But anywho, all right. So let's see. Mrs. Beulah Donaldson, which is also his sister, which is crazy because I'm pretty sure on my mother's side we are related to some Donaldsons. I'll have to ask her. I'll have to ask her. Maybe they were Mennonites because the lights were on. Maybe. Could be. Oh, well, all the same to me. I'm sorry. All the Amish are the same to me, damn it. But anyway, okay, let me continue. The piece of information left out of the obituary was that somewhere between that sweet church appearance in 1924, which we read about at the beginning, he was just a cute little sweet little boy in church, and Reese's arrest in 1954. Okay, so he was arrested in 1954. See, I was thinking that this was the 70s, but no, this was even older than that. That is nuts. He had become the most notorious serial killer to ever walk the hills of that county. Wow. See, guys, this is what I want. I want to talk about these true crime cases, for lack of a better term, that are not talked about for, like, I've sent this. I know she's a huge YouTuber and she probably will never see my comments or anything, but I have sent this story to Bailey Sarian to cover because I was like, this seems interesting. There's pictures, stuff like that. But that's okay because we're talking about it. And it's more special coming from us because it came from my area, my neck of the woods. There's so many stories I want to talk to you guys about. I want to talk to you guys about the mansion. I want to talk to you guys a little bit about I want to talk about Mary Stuckham, who was supposedly a witch. And I want to show you these places too. I don't think I can get to Mary Stuckham's anymore, the grave site or whatever, because that road is really messed up. So I don't know if you can still get out there or not. But there's a lot of stuff that I want to talk to you guys about, like locally type shit that has I've never heard anybody talk about. I mean, we hear the same old shit all the time repeated from these YouTubers over and over and over. But when are they going to talk about some new shit? You know what I mean? And I hope, hopefully, I mean, fingers crossed. I doubt it, but I hope that maybe that one of these bigger people will come across this video and they'll be like, "Oh, this is an interesting story. I'm going to look into it." And they will talk about it. Do some research and talk about it. But if you do, give your girl a little bit of credit. I'm sick of people taking from me and not giving me no credit for it. You can't just take my ideas and then, you know what I mean? That type of. I mean, this ain't my idea. I mean, it's a story anybody can read about. But I'm just saying, metaphorically speaking. Anyways, so what went wrong? What went wrong between the time that Cletus was this sweet little boy singing in church choir to a murderer? If that were easy to answer, perhaps we could prevent cases of lives that go monstrously off the rails. But a lot goes into the making of a serial killer. At least one element that researchers have pointed out is a genetic one. Hmm. While mental anomalies can pop up in any family without precedent, it has been established that cases of people who could be diagnosed as having borderline personality disorder, we've heard a lot about that. What is popularly known as being a sociopath or a psychopath. Psychopath is different than a sociopath, but okay, I guess whatever. Do have a tendency to come from families where other severe mental issues are present. Okay, yeah, that's valid. That's a valid point. But that in itself is almost a pointless observation. If you cast your net wide, who wouldn't find some people with issues in their family? Exactly. And lacking detailed information about the deeper history of the Reese family, we find no answer there. So we can't really say his issue was solely a genetic type thing passed down from, his family, whatever. Anyway, moving on. Also, often cited is the deadly cocktail of poverty and violence. Poverty alone can warp a person's life. True. Putting them on the periphery of society in a state of permanent stress, which certainly can activate one's flight or fight. Hey, hang on. What? Get your butt beat. I'll spray that spray ball. How about that? Sorry, guys. I'll continue reading in a moment. You fat man. Who got the freaking sell you to the Chinese food place? How about that? Get your ass over there and lay down, Miss Eight. Here, go get your ball. Damn cat. I swear, sometimes these cats are literally like having two small children. It's usually Poppy being crazy. Okay. Anywho, yes, poverty can really damage somebody's mental health, physical health, health in general. Being poor can really affect that. Okay, so can activate one's fight or flight. We read that. Adrenaline to the point where it is a constant. To the point where it is a constant aggressive flow. And when that's combined with violence in the family, at school, or in the community, it can become a caustic mix that boils the humanity right out of a person. I can't disagree with that. Growing up in rural, I can never say that word, rural Eastern Ohio, Cletus Reese certainly wasn't wealthy, yet there's no indication the Reese family struggled more than other farming families. Okay, so from my understanding, they were just your average farm folk, basically. His grandfather, Conrad Reese, arrived in America from Germany in the 1830s, but had only passed away when Cletus was a child. Oh, so he lived quite long then, because Poppy quit. Uh-huh. Because Cletus was born in 1918. So Cletus's father, Robert, was already in his 50s when Cletus was born in 1918. Wow. Married to a wife 15 years younger than him. Okay, so she was in her 40s. Wait. No, she would have been 15 years younger than 50. Oh, she would have been in her late 30s then, something like that, mid to late 30s. Perhaps Robert thought that with a younger wife, she'd outlive him, as he had already lost one wife to death. Well, that's sad. But Mary Jane proved to suffer from precarious health as she and Robert tried to have children. She suffered the loss of two stillborn infants. Well, that's sad. But in 1918, she successfully birthed Cletus. Unfortunately, her health deteriorated after that, and she died of complications from diabetes when Cletus was 5. That at least suggests some early childhood trauma for the boy. Okay, yeah, I get it. Uh, Another thing that I was thinking of, kind of while I was reading that, um, I don't think prenatal care was such a big deal back then as it is nowadays. So, and it is known that Cletus was mentally delayed. Gosh dang it, I fell asleep. You already know, but I googled Murder Ridge, Ohio, and looks like there is at least one YouTube video. But oh, really? No, I didn't know that. Interesting. Huh. I've never heard it. Like I said, I've never heard nobody talk about it. So I was like, you know what? And it was, in a place where I grew up. So I was like, I'm going to talk about this. Anywho, oh, let me read the rest of this. His half sister Ethel, who was 16 when Cletus was born, became his de facto mother. I don't know what that means, but his replacement mother, more or less, for lack of a better word. Doing your best over the years to take care of him. Okay, so his sister did her best to try and take care of him. There are many cases of other children who survive early trauma and don't turn dangerously violent. In the end, we're at a loss to explain exactly what went wrong with Cletus Paul Reese. Yeah. We know that he was tremendously strong and had a reputation in his young years for being a tireless physical laborer. Like, he worked his ass off. Okay, then they say, my friend, blah, 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 told me that, okay, there's a story about somebody's friend. My friend Robin, who lives near Warsaw, which is the area, with her husband, told me that her husband was a child. His father regularly worked with Cletus on milk pickup rounds. He once saw Cletus empty a large full metal milk can with one hand. A friend of his saw Cleet, that's what they called him, I guess, pick up two full milk cans, one in each hand. Others claimed that Cletus was so strong he didn't have to tie cattle down to pull their horns. He simply grabbed the huge animals around the neck and hold it still while he sawed. Oh, that's something. Which, I mean, I've heard, my grandfather, the story that he told about the pigs. So makes sense. Oh yeah, and here's the story about another source claimed that Cletus had been seen picking up a hog under each arm. One occasion, a man needed to charge a tire change. Why did I say charge? Yeah, I seen the book. Yeah, mom. I when I googled this to when I first started, and I seen where there was a book. If you watch the playback, you'll see. But I had no idea that there was a book about it anyway. So, I've never heard anybody talk about this. So, and it's my hometown. So, why not talk about it? You feel me? Who would know better and who would, I wish my grandpa was still alive. I really do. Or I wish my mom was here. My mother was here at the moment and we could get more information. But next time I talk to my grandma, I'll have to see if I know that she still has the actual newspaper from it happening. Where she will, if will she know where it is? God only knows because the woman is a hoarder. So yeah, I don't give a shit if anybody else has talked about it because I've never heard anybody else talk about it. Certainly not like they talk about poor little Summer or the Alex Murdaugh case or what's the new one? Gwyneth Paltrow, whatever the hell that has to do with a skiing trip. You guys watch that? I was like, bitch, I don't care what happens with you. But yeah, people talk about the same shit all the time. And I was like, I came to the conclusion the other day. I was like, you know what? There's a lot of crap that is happening in my neck of the woods. And, you know, things that are not well talked about, like these other cases on here. So why not talk about it? And who better to talk about it than somebody that grew up in the area? You know what I mean? But yes, we seen I seen where there was a book about it. I couldn't see there was no reviews. Like I don't know if anybody's bought it or anything, but I'd be interested to see what it was all about because the book was saying, like the little descriptions that books have on the back or whatever. And it said something about he killed family members. And as far as I know, that is not true. He killed traveling salesmen. But I don't know. Maybe he killed a traveling salesman and some family members. I don't know. But I'm gonna keep reading this. Watch the clip of the top moments in the ski trip. Oh yeah, with Gwyneth Paltrow. Yeah, because there wasn't really anything on, and I was like, oh fuck it, and I watched this YouTuber, and she was checking it out or whatever, and something to do with, I guess, Gwyneth Paltrow was skiing and ran into some guy and knocked him over and he was unconscious, and I don't know. I paid a little bit attention to it. But I don't know what's going on with all that. Uh Anywho, most people knew Cletus as a reasonably nice guy. Maybe a little odd, but nice enough. Very shy, kept mostly to himself, which, mostly mentally, somebody who might be a little mentally delayed would, you'd expect that. But his quirks started to become more and more pronounced as the years went by. He was witnessed having very animated conversations at times with invisible companions. His temper was known to flare when he drank, and he liked to drink. Oh, okay, so there we go. Him with his mental issues on top of drinking, that right there is a recipe for destruction. Ethel, which is his sister, later claimed that Cletus only became unstable a few years before the murders. Yet when his draft number came up during World War II, he was rejected without further comment by the draft board despite his robust physical condition. So the guy was in pretty good shape. They probably rejected him because he was not mentally fit. So that was probably why he was rejected. People who found themselves out on the roads in the middle of the night in Newcastle Township were startled when they would suddenly encounter Cletus crossing the roads and ridges with his hunting dogs. It would seem that the death of his father in 1942 was the trigger that began accelerating the mental decline of Cletus. Okay, so we're getting a little bit more of a picture here of how this shit came to be. Cleet's siblings pulled their inheritance after Robert died and put the modest 65-acre family farm on Township Road 41, just off the off US 30 US. I'm sorry, I said ass again. What the hell's wrong with me? Why can't I talk? US 36 in Ethel Reese's name. So they bought the farm and his sister Ethel's name. Cletus was given the task of running the farm in hopes that it would stabilize him. And for a time, it did. As the years went by, though, he showed less commitment to it as he became more and more volatile. Even after additional adjoining land was purchased, making it a 195-acre farm, Cletus simply wasn't interested in working that much land. In 1951, the family decided that it was no longer safe for Cletus to be left living alone on the farm, and he was sent to the High State Hospital in Cambridge, where he was given a diagnosis of schizophrenia. Okay, so he obviously, I mean, we pretty much seen that coming, that he was schizophrenic, talking to people that aren't there, whatever. And there he stabilized to some degree and made friends with a fellow patient, a World War II veteran named Pat Tish. Wait a minute. Tish? See, all of these names are so familiar because like the Donaldson, Tish. These are people. I know Tish is relatives of my mom. Huh. They were an amusing pair of contrasts. Tish, small and scrawny, Reese, barrel chested and strong. But for a patient known to be shy and antisocial, the friendship was an accomplishment. After less, okay, let me see. Cletus Hoffa's sister Ethel was a school teacher in Millersburg. She wasn't certain that Cletus was ready to return home on his own, but when the hospital doctor suggested a trial release program with periodic supervision from Ethel, then she agreed. Hang on, guys. I gotta go check something real fast. Give me a sec. I'll be right back. Don't leave. I'll continue in a moment. Oh, sorry, guys. I apologize. Uh, Anybody watching right now? Sorry about that. And if you're watching the playback, sorry I'm so ill prepared. All right. Anywho, so Cletus was let out of the mental facility on a trial based thing, like his sister, Cletus' sister, would be supervising, going over to check up on him and shit, like babysitting him. Anywho, after less than a year in the state hospital, Cletus was released and he returned to the farm on the ridge overlooking whatever hollow. Possum Hollow, Opossum, however the fuck is pronounced. I say possum, but some people say opossum. I'm just like, whatever. I thought the O was silent. It's interesting to note that only a few months after Cletus returned, the original family farmhouse suddenly burned down. Okay, so that's what happened to the original farmhouse. Oh, so he returned and it magically burned down. The rest of his life, Cletus was always, oh my God, Lena, Cletus was always able to recall the date that unexplained fire happened. So he probably, in all honesty, he probably started it. Luna! Oh my God. I'm getting annoyed. I'm trying to do something and you're being a little bitch. Hey, where are you? You. Be good girl. I'm going to spray you with a spray bottle. Jeez Louise. If you be good, I'll give you treats. Oh my gosh. I feel like this whole live I've been running back and forth after those kitties. It's Luna. She's being bad today, guys. Anyway, he lived in a smaller house on the same property. So there was the original farmhouse that burned down, and then there was a littler house on the property. Meanwhile, back at the state hospital, Paul Tisch apparently grew lonely without his friend. He abruptly walked off the grounds of the hospital on December 8th, 1952, wearing his leather jacket and 2 pairs of pants. Authorities searched but were unable to locate him. His trail went cold. Interesting. I'll have to ask my mom about that because I know that we are related to some Tishes. That I'm pretty sure is my grandma's maiden name is Tish. But I'll have to ask my mom about that. On November 28th, 1953, Lester Mellick, a farmhand who worked on the James Flack farm near Danville, which is around the same area, was eating supper in a restaurant in the village. I wonder if is the restaurant that's there. I mean, they're doing work to it now. I don't know if they're going to keep it as a restaurant or what, but I'm going to have to take you guys on a tour sometime. As he left, he mentioned that he had to get going to meet a friend. An hour or so later, he was seen having a beer in Danville bar with Cletus. So they were having some beers. Mellick was never seen again after that. Okay, so he was a farmhand. And extensive searches and questioning by the county sheriff's department turned up no leads. And Reese denied any knowledge about Mellick's disappearance. On Wednesday, June 2nd, 1954, Cletus called the Hafner Truck and Equipment Company in Coshocton, which is a nearby town. I told you guys about, yeah. He said that he wanted to take a new Hudson automobile for a test drive. In those days, it wasn't unusual for a dealership to drive the vehicle to the customer. Part-time car salesman Clyde Patton had already been to the farm previously, demonstrating vehicles to Cletus. So Ethel, who happened to be at the farm that day, didn't think anything of it when Patton showed up. Okay. Perhaps she sympathized with Patton, whose day job was a school teacher in the village of Fresno, but with a wife and 4 younger children to support, and a fifth one on the way, he also did auto sales part time to boost his income. Okay, so he had 2 jobs. Ethel boosted her own teaching salary by working in evenings as a waitress. Hardworking individual. See, people back then were hardworking. Now everybody just wants shit handed to them. The potential sale of the Hudson was enticing to Patton, so he eagerly brought the Hudson to the Reese farm located on what today is County Road 41, just off 36, whatever, who cares? Ethel told Patton that Cletus was in no position to get a new car when she hadn't yet paid off his current vehicle. So that right there is suspicious right there. She's like, yo, he doesn't need to be getting a new car. The one that he has already isn't even paid off. Like, why does he need another car? I mean, come on. But she didn't object to the test drive. She later said that she saw them return and that the only thing out of the ordinary was that Cletus was starry-eyed and tense. After she stepped back into the farmhouse, Cletus and Clyde pulled the car up toward the barn to turn it around. A little while later, Cletus came into the house and Ethel assumed that Patton had left. She noted that her half-brother was stiff and rigid and stared off into space. Red flag. After staying overnight, Ethel prepared to go home. She noticed the Hudson was still in the front yard and assumed that Patton had left it for Cletus to audition and must had someone pick him up. When she got home, Ethel called the dealership and told them to pick up the car. So she called him up and was like, yo, this car's out front. I don't know where homeboy is, but y'all need to come pick this car up. That's the Sarah way. I'm translating it into my way of talking. Meanwhile, Clyde Patton's wife, Rosalie, that's such a cute name, Rosalie, suspected that something was not right when her husband didn't show up for supper Wednesday evening. She called the Coshocton County Sheriff that evening, but he declined to do anything until 24 hours have passed. That is so stupid. Like, that should never have even been a rule. Like, oh, you got to wait for 24 hours to report a missing person. Like, that's so stupid. That don't make no fucking sense. To me, anyway, just my opinion. She could do nothing but wait. Oh, wait. What the hell? All right, hang on. There's more. Damn it. Hang on, guys. It says part 2. Why is there a part 2? Why does there have to be a part 2? That is stupid. Are you freaking kidding me? Where is the part? Why can't you just say it all, you freaking ew. When was this even posted? Oh my god, in July 2nd of 2022, this was posted. Well, where the hell's part 2 at then? Why is there Damn. Well, this is stupid. Let me see if I can find part two. If not, then I'll just find something else to tell you guys the rest and like see. There is no part two, but there's a part three. Tell me how that makes sense. Good Lord. Anyway, there's no part two, but we know that, Cletus killed three people, maybe even more. One we know was a farmhand, one was a car salesman, and I'm pretty sure the other one, there's something about a traveling salesman. I'm pretty sure. So we know he killed people. All right. We'll read part three since there's no part two. In the aftermath of Cletus' confessions, because he confessed to triple murder in the summer of 1954, many people questioned why the schizophrenic mental patient had ever been released from the state hospital in the first place. One report from the asylum where Reese had been a patient identified some alarming tendencies. Reports stated that he had a sudden temper and suffered from occasional delusions, such as believing himself to be a policeman or an FBI agent. Okay, well, why would you let him out if he is delusional and shit? Like, people back in the day, it was just back in the 50s and 40s, shit like that. Shit was just so different than it is. During his confession, he complained at one point about soldiers overrunning his farm and killing people, thus explaining that his murders were committed in self-defense. At several points during the confession, Reese shouted at the investigators that he had perpetrated the killings on instructions from the U.S. First Lady Bess Truman, President Harry S. Truman's wife. Oh my lord. Dude was, his cheese done slid off his cracker. What he never talked about was the fact that all of his known victims were male, and that Reese was never known to have had a relationship with a woman. I mean, he was really shy and mentally, not all there, so that's not surprising. One can't help but wonder if part of his rage was a viciously repressed attraction to men. I mean, maybe, possibly even one that was consummated with his later victim, Paul Tisch, at the Cambridge State Hospital. Oh wait, he killed the Tisch guy. I don't like how they say that they are presuming that like he's possibly homosexual just because of that fact. I don't really like that. Something drew Tisch to seek out Reese when he fled the asylum, and Cletus responded by killing him. Okay, so that's where Paul Tisch went when he, left the asylum. He went looking for Cletus, his friend, and he found him, and Cletus killed him. But that doesn't show any. I mean, how does, I don't know. I don't understand what they're trying to say here, but I mean, I understand, but I don't see how it is of any relevance. Was it a fear of being discovered as a homosexual that first triggered Reese's series of murders? Maybe. I mean, it's possible. Maybe it is. I don't know. I don't like that they assume that, but it's interesting to note that Tish's grave is the one pushed farthest up the ridge, most distant from the house. And of all the attacks, it was the one that appeared to be the fiercest. Like he really, I don't know, maybe that Paul guy was really, they were really good friends. And Cletus was like, when Paul found him, Cletus, tried to be like, "Hey, I love you," blah, blah, blah. And dude's like, "Wait, man, we're friends, we're just friends." And then that Cletus guy was like flipped out because his love was not reciprocated or some shit like that. I don't know. Maybe we never know. We never know. The sheriff stated that the man's skull had been broken almost completely in two. So he bashed his skull in. I heard with a big heavy tree branch is what I heard. The story I heard. Decapitation is rare enough in gruesome murder cases. Complete separation of the skull into two pieces is far more rare. They said far rarer, but I think far more rare sounds grammatically better. It suggests an unhinged amount of rage. Yeah, like he was super pissed. Not much is known of Tish's life. He was born in Mount Vernon, which is another neighboring little town, but the seeds of his own instability were sown in his childhood. His father died when Paul was only 5 years old during the 1918 influenza epidemic. Paul's mother passed away only a few years later. He spent most of his childhood in a children's home or in foster homes. Hey, are you kidding me? Oh my God. Give me a sec. Jesus. Oh God. Luna just threw up. I can't get through this. I'm not going to get through this damn story today. I swear, these cats are on my freaking nerves. Go. Give me a sec, guys. I'll be back with you in a minute. So annoying. All right, I'm back. I need to finish this damn story. Okay, this is just talking a little bit more about Paul Tish a little. In adulthood, Paul got married, but then served in the Navy during World War II and returned a broken man. I mean, come on, in World War II, I mean, war will change a man. I had an uncle also who was in World War II, and he was never found. What was his name? Cliff, I think was his name, because my uncle's named after him. But whatever. If you're watching the playback, I mean, look into it. Look into this story if you want. His wife divorced him, and Tish fell apart, landing first in the Knox County home in Bangs, and then in the Cambridge State Hospital where he met Cletus. His escape to Reese's farm brought his life to an early end at the age of 39. Oh, wow, he's only 39. Okay, so a local rumor that built over the years was that for years Cletus had been collecting stranded motorists from the highway, killing them, cannibalizing their flesh, eating them, then tearing apart their cars and selling off the parts. This legend seems to have been prompted by the presence of about a dozen junk cars on the property. I don't know. It's an entertainingly I don't know that word, baroque. But it's more likely that these were rundown cars which Reese purchased so he could sell the parts separately and try to turn a profit. Okay, so that comes with not really a traveling salesman, what I was thinking are the traveling salesman, the car salesman thing that I've heard, whatever. Searches of newspaper archives show that he sometimes placed newspaper ads to buy and sell livestock. So it's not all that hard to believe that he would have tried additional wheeling and dealing. Yeah, right. He would have certainly had the time. As contemporary reports suggest that not much of the 195-acre farm was actually farmed. So it was just, yeah, it wasn't really a farm. And the general condition of the place was cluttered and in disrepair. He must have been doing something with his time other than roaming the hills at night with his dog. I'm not going to read this because it's about some stupid governor and oh, it made it into politics. I don't give a fuck about that. I don't give a fuck about who won politics, whatever. All right, so here we go. Police Chief A.E. Jones from Newark and Licking County drove up to Coshocton to confront Cletus with a photograph of Peter, whatever that last name is, who had been missing since 1948. Reese took one glance at the photo, then shrank back and refused to say anything at all to Jones for the rest of his visit. Well, if that doesn't tell you something. They questioned Cletus about other missing persons from the area, but made no progress, with Reese keeping his head hung down throughout the questioning. Makes you wonder if he didn't. I mean, he only confessed the three, but to this day, it is unknown if some of the men who went missing in central Ohio in the 1940s and early 50s were runaways or murder victims whose bodies were never found. In the aftermath of the events, many blamed Ethel, his sister, but she denied instigating her half brother's move home. She's not to be blamed. On the recommendation of the hospital, Ethel said in a newspaper interview, I was notified that Cletus seemed to be in condition to come home for a trial visit. Yeah, it was a trial. And she continued and said, I never thought that Cletus was in condition to warrant his unconditional release. Huh. And she said, basically, she's saying she didn't want him out, but they pushed her to sign the papers and shit like that, is what I'm reading. He had fits of anger and at times was incoherent. But when he was himself, he was honest, generous, and harmless. When he had these spells, he was tense and he stared into space. At times, he was verbally cross and unreasonable with me. Yeah, I mean, that sounds like red flags. Oh, so they sent him from the jail to the hospital for mental evaluation. After observing him for a month, no, they noted that while Reese was generally calm and polite, his words suggested otherwise. It's in his speech that much incoherence is noted, for he uses many conjoined or coined rather words, and his stream of talk is disconnected and delusional. The delusions are mainly of a grandiose, morbid character. We've heard these words many times in these true crime cases. It is his belief he had a mission to perform because of his fancied employment by the FBI, and in his fulfillment of his mission, he did away with three men. He brings the names of the prominent people into his scheme of things and would have us believe that they visited him while he was in jail. He also said Reese was having hallucinations of sight and hearing. His judgment was clear. Altogether, Reese is severely deranged, and it is our opinion that he is legally insane, highly dangerous, and of course, committable. Right. Okay, so heeding the report on August 17th, 1954, Judge Leach declared Reese unfit for trial and sentenced him to return to the state hospital until restored for reason, is what it says. This sentence was only for the death of Clyde Patton, the other two charges being held back in the eventuality that Reese should ever be released. And he, of course, as we know, he never was released. Rosalie Patton took her children and returned to Salem, West Virginia, stating to the Tribune that she had forgiven Cletus and bore no ill feelings against the Reese family because she understood that Cletus's actions were beyond his own control because of his insanity. What a nice lady. And then she gave birth to their fifth child. Uh oh wow, she sued Ethel. She sued Cletus's sister for $100,000. Well, man, that's fucked up that they were blaming her. You can't blame the sister. That's fucked. Hang on, be right back. Damn it. Sorry, guys. I'm watching right now, or if you're watching the playback, I'm not. right with you momentarily. We'll finish this story up. I'm sorry, this is not going at all the way I planned. Damn it. Sorry, you guys. Sorry. If you must know, I'll spare you the details, but I'm sorry. This live is not going according to plan at all. I just wanted to tell you guys about this cool story that nobody ever talks about except for I guess one person, according to Yeah Mom. I guess she looked up on YouTube. There's one video, but yeah, whatever. We don't. I mean, we're talking, and hardly. I've never heard anybody talk about this before. And this has happened in a place where I grew up. I heard the story come from actual people who lived in the area. You know what I mean? So yeah, doing a little more research. This I'm sorry, nothing's going according to plan though. I'm just to be blunt. I have a bellyache, and I keep having to run to the bathroom for some reason. I will not go into details. I mean, you can guess. And the kitties are being crazy, and I have to get after them, and it's just not going the way I planned. Thank you. No, thank you for hanging out and listening. I'm gonna skim this and see if there's anything else interesting or important to talk about. But yeah, I'm gonna ask my mom about these names because I'm pretty sure we're related to Donaldson's and Tish's. Tish is my grandmother. Her maiden name is Tish. So I'm very interested in that. I'm gonna have to mention this to mom. Uh so Ethel leaned on prayer and faith to pull her through, as you tend to do. She prayed for her brother. She outlived Cletus by many years. She passed away in 1991 at the age of 88. Wow. Little else is known about Cletus, his years in the asylum. He died of a heart attack at the Lima State Hospital in May of 1966. He was only 48. His body was returned to the family for burial at Darling Run Cemetery, where I told you some of my family members are buried. Uh, then one of the victim's children came from Arkansas to check out the stopped by the farm, I guess. I had strong feelings there are still more bodies out on that farm, she said. I didn't want to get out, and it was very upsetting to be there. Well, yeah. Others have said that they don't feel spooked by the place. I never felt spooked by it. I mean, I'll have to do a drive by someday and show you guys. And I can say that it mainly struck me as a beautiful and peaceful place when I visited. It is private property, so I saw it and received permission to take a photograph of the house, with the understanding that the farm is now marked with no trespassing signs and is not open to the general public at this time. No, it never was open to the general public. Uh, it's likely we'll never know if the quiet farm, big city media dubbed Murder Ridge, quiet farm, big city. What? That is stupid. That is a stupid way of putting it. Whoever wrote this is a dumbass. Murder Ridge ended up being the final resting place of a number of regions missing persons of the 1940s and 50s. The assertion can neither be proved nor disproved, which, I mean, could go either way. Cletus wasn't even capable of giving a straightforward answer when he was confessing, so the things he said can neither be completely believed nor entirely ignored, and any shreds of reality that he was still able to discern went with him to the grave. The infamy of Murder Ridge lingers along with his unanswered questions. So, yeah, that is basically the story about Cletus Reese and Murder Ridge in Newcastle, which is the place where I grew up the most. I grew up in little towns all over the place. Newcastle's up on a hill. I grew up in this place called Wills Creek, but that's in a hollow, whatever, holla, by a creek, hence the name. And I grew up in a very rural places. But yeah, I wanted to talk about that. I wanted to let you guys know about that. There are other stories, not necessarily true crime, but there's a story about a lady named Mary Stockham that I want to tell you guys about, who was said to be a witch. And there is a story about her gravesite, which we used to go to. It's out in the middle of the woods, and we used to party and shit out there. A lot of assholes have defaced, like the older tombstones out there and stuff like that. And I want to talk to you guys about that story also. But yeah, I thought that was a pretty interesting true crime case from the 50s. I thought it was 60s, 70s, but apparently it was the 50s. All right. But yeah, it's kind of interesting to know things going on in your neck of the woods. You know what I mean? And honestly, I have never, ever heard anybody else, regardless if there is a video or not, where somebody's talking about this. I haven't heard anybody talk about it besides me and my family to each other, like talking about it. So, and to be honest, when it comes to us talking about true crime and stuff, of course, I like to talk about, the popular ones that have captivated us, of course. But everybody talks about those. We see all these YouTubers, whether how big or small they are. Of course, they're all talking about the popular ones, but I want to talk about the lesser known ones and ones that I haven't heard anybody talking about before. And what better way to do that than to, find out the little shit that's happened around my neck of the woods. There's other things that have happened. There was a more recent one from a couple years ago also that I will tell you guys about. But anyway, that's the story about Cletus Reese and Murder Ridge happened in my home little town. I'm sorry. I'm sorry it didn't go. This live didn't go as smoothly as I wanted to, but whatever. Oh, thank you, Amanda and yeah, Mom, for listening in, and anybody else who listened in live and threw their 2 cents in and whatnot. Thank you so much to everybody who watches the playback. I appreciate you. Mwah, love you. We'll keep talking about other stuff. I'm going to give you guys new, well, not necessarily new. I mean, this happened. This one was in the 50s, but ones that are very little known, not well known cases. Those are the ones that I want to talk about, and you guys can talk about with me. If there's any lesser known cases, you too, Amanda. Love you, girl. Mwah. If there's any lesser known cases that you think that I should look into, please comment. Let me know. I would love to do some research. If you haven't done it already, please consider subscribing to the channel and giving the video a little likey. Pretty please. Love you long time. Mwah. Yeah. Tip to the Cash App scrolling are appreciated, but not necessary. I'm not going to shove it in your face like everybody else. Some of these people will do, Cash App me, bro. But no, tips are appreciated on the Cash App, but totally not expected. Not a big deal. And yeah, again, oh my God, the girls are being crazy, guys. But again, thank you for hanging out. Thank you for showing your girls some love. I wish you all health, wealth, success, and happiness, and just all the goodness and positive energy ever. Okay? I love you. Mwah. Catch you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.